Check, testing. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our April 23rd regular Planning Commission meeting. Hey, Joseph. So I call this meeting to order at 6 o'clock. Madam Clerk, can you please call roll?
Commissioner Knighton?
Here.
Commissioner Ramirez?
Here.
Commissioner Thomas is absent. Vice Chair Holler?
Here.
Chair Madrid?
Here. Let me see. Ron, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you, Ron. Okay. So let's see here. So there are no presentations. Are there any modifications to the agenda?
There are none.
Okay, can I ask the Planning Commission for an all in favor to approve the agenda?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Good. No, there's no no one's opposed. So it's approved. So, Madam Clerk, are there any requests to speak, or would anyone in the audience like to make comments?
I have no requests to speak for any non-agenda items.
Thank you. There is one set of minutes for the Planning Commission's approval. Does the Planning Commission have any modifications? Could I ask the Planning Commission for an all in favor to approve the April 9, 2025 minutes? Any opposed?
No.
Hearing none, minutes are approved. Takes us to there are no consent calendar items. That takes us to, this is item 9.1. The Acting Community Development Director will please introduce this item.
Mr. Chairman, if I could make one comment beforehand.
Sure.
I was absent for the first hearing of this item. However, I have watched the video, 3 hours of the video, all of it, read the previous staff report and the current staff report. So I will be participating in this item this evening.
Thank you very much, Ivan. Okay, so please present the project.
Commissioner Haller, you stole my thunder. I was about to ask you if you had done all of that, so I'm glad you did, and thank you for
Want me to say
watching.
it again?
Thank you for watching all the 3 hours of the last item. I also want to thank the residents for coming out again. I know it's an item that they want to be involved and have some concerns, and I think the applicant was able to meet with them after the meeting, and I'll have Brandon Cleary go over the presentation and some of the changes that have occurred on the project.
Very good.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. The project again before you is tentative track map 38652, Oak Hills West. The project is located north of Ridgemore Road and the Boulder Crest intersection on approximately 77 acres. The zoning is 2.1 to 5 dwelling units per acre with an LDR1 zoning designation. The project proposes 37 lots with duplexes for a total of 74 units utilizing the cluster development standards. Based on the past Planning Commission meeting from about a month ago, the resident and commissioner concerns were regarding individual unit sales versus rentals, security, duplex compatibility with the existing neighborhood, privacy for existing residential, traffic, and public outreach. For the individual unit sales, the project applicant has modified the project to condo map each of the 37 lots to have 2 condo units on each one, allowing each individual unit to be sold. This map this condo mapping does not increase the density or number of units or the design of the project. It just allows each individual unit to be sold separately. For security, the project has been conditioned to provide 24/7 security on site. For privacy concerns, duplex compatibility. The applicant, it will be incorporating detached single-family architectural features to help blend it into the existing neighborhood. And on the homes on the eastern boundary of the project site, north of Polaris Drive, they will incorporate a 10-foot second-story setback along those properties to help increase the privacy of the homes. For additional privacy concerns, approximately 100 feet and between 100 and 240 feet is the distance between the existing homes and the future duplexes, depending on which lot in particular. The applicant is also going to be incorporating solid fencing along the eastern boundary at the top of the slope to help screen the backyards of the existing lots. Additionally, within the HOA maintained slope, the applicant will be incorporating larger plant types, and this is a clarification on the staff report. The plant types had to be switched out due to the high fire area. So they will now be incorporating western redbuds, pink Don Chitalpa, and Columbia London plane trees, which have various heights and widths incorporated with them, which will provide adequate screening along the eastern project boundary. For traffic, as mentioned in the previous Planning Commission hearing, a traffic study was conducted in accordance with CEQA to substantiate any impacts to the city roadways. It did screen out from the vehicle miles traveled requirements as it requires it to be over 50 peak hour trips to do a vehicle miles traveled study. The applicant did perform a level of service analysis per our general plan requirements, which designated the two intersections, Ganymede Way and Polaris Drive, and Ridgemore Road and Boulder Crest Road as a level of service A for both of those intersections, which ultimately noted that there would not be a result in significant impacts to the roadway network. For public outreach, the applicant performed the outreach by offering virtual meetings to all the residents that provided their emails on the petition that was provided at the last Planning Commission hearing on March 26th. Staff's recommendation is to adopt a resolution adopting the initial study negative declaration for tentative track map 38652 and adopt a resolution approving tentative track map number 38652 located north of Ridgemore Road and Boulder Crest Way with the aforementioned items be modified on the project. This concludes staff's presentation. The applicant is here along with our CEQA consultant as well.
Thank you, Brandon. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Brandon? Ivan.
Just a couple of questions. You went over them, but I want to confirm that my understanding is correct. So at the top of the pad, that is the back of the rear yards, on those homes that are just west of the existing homes, there will now be, instead of a wrought iron or tubular steel fence, there will now be a solid fence or CMU fence of some type, some sort of solid fencing. That's 6 feet tall?
That's correct.
Okay, so that was one of the questions. And then on the traffic study, I just want to, I know this was discussed last time, but I just want to kind of go over that again. A traffic study, or in this case, the traffic analysis was, when that's conducted, pursuant to the City of Menifee's code, staff looks for impacts. That doesn't mean that there won't be any additional trips coming off of this. Obviously there will. The property is undeveloped today, and if ultimately approved, there would be homes placed there. There would obviously be trips coming off of the property. But what we're required to look at is there a significant impact? Are the peak hour trips greater than 50, for example? So that's really the threshold that we're allowed to consider. And I just want to make sure that you can reiterate that, because I did hear testimony on that. Last time, I know, Madam City Attorney, you opined at the end of, near the end of the discussion on that, but just to go back and reiterate that.
That's correct. So the 50 peak hour trips is what triggers a vehicle miles traveled analysis. This project only has an AM peak hour trips of 36 and a PM peak hour trips of 42. So it is below the threshold. For level of service, it's a grade from A through E. And both of the intersections that were analyzed noted a level of service A, which is a passing grade.
Thank you, Ivan. Michael?
Thanks, Chair. Brandon, Commissioner Thomas is absent this evening. He had concerns about selling, renting, condoing the lots. The condo mapping, that takes care of his concern?
That's correct. Each of the 37 lots will have 2 condos in it, allowing each individual unit to be sold to a separate owner.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Ivan?
And I have one more, just clarification. So Menifee's code treats duplexes the same as single-family dwellings, as opposed to a multifamily project. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So the duplex proposal is consistent with the code.
That's correct.
Okay.
Tammy, do you have any questions?
Not for staff, but for the developer.
Thank you. Brandon, my question is, how thorough of a review did you have with the residents of the existing adjacent community? Did they get all their questions answered, do you think? Were you involved in that at all?
If Chair Madrid, if I can jump in, obviously at the last Planning Commission, there was a good number of residents that had public testimony and had some concerns. The commission did direct the applicant to meet with the residents.
Yeah.
We did follow up with them to make sure that they made themselves available to have conversations with them. You can specifically ask the applicant. They're here and prepared to give you a presentation as well, and they can specifically talk about the outreach that they provided.
Yeah, I plan on asking him. So Brandon, you didn't really have a role in that then?
I did not, no.
Did not, okay, thank you. Any more questions? So since we have no more questions for staff, I'll open the public hearing at 6:13. Madam Clerk, can you confirm that this item was legally noticed and if any correspondence has been received?
Yes, it was legally noticed, and we didn't receive any correspondence.
Thank you. I'd like to invite the applicant to the podium to speak, please.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sal Provenza. I'm the manager of the applicant, Oak Hills West LLC. Thought I would start off with just a friendly reminder of the project and what we've been through thus far. When we started the project, it was a previously approved subdivision that had expired, that had processed through the county before the city incorporated. We've been working with the city for about 3 years. We submitted our application in April. My presentation should probably be up by now.
IT, can you put up the applicant's presentation, please?
Thank you. We submitted our formal application in April of 2023. We circulated our ISMND February 16th through the 18th of 2025. And the results were the impacts would be less than significant or less than significant with mitigation. As you've mentioned before, the project is conforming. These are the kind of projects we look for in cities to develop. We're not looking to do general plan amendments and zone changes. We're looking for projects that already have those rights based on the land use documents. So the development code, as you mentioned, does allow for paired or duplex homes, and it allows for clustering. Staff did a great job of describing some of the issues that we encountered on our first planning commission. We had several meetings with staff. I believe it was five different meetings with staff, going over different types of things we could do, potential design changes or conditions. The first one was the 24-hour security. It's a 24-hour security monitoring using what they call the flock system. It's the same system that the Menifee Police Department uses. It's really interesting to me. It uses a little AI to monitor license plates, put them in the database. It flags potential people who have those license plates that shouldn't be on the property, who have records, whatever, and it alerts the police department. So that's something that happens on site 24 hours a day. We did explore the idea of second-story setbacks. It actually wasn't very effective for solving that edge condition. So I don't think that's something we're going to incorporate into the home designs. But we did look at, during final engineering, making sure that in our landscape plan that we have the 24-inch box trees and shrubs that maximize the impact. You may know this, maybe some people in the room don't. That landscape plan is conceptual. They plot trees there. Sometimes they actually show the tree the way it should be. Sometimes they actually show it smaller. In many cases, some of those very small trees are much bigger than they appear on the plan. And it's not final. We have a construction document phase, the final engineering, that we will go through and make sure that we place those trees to maximize the effect of those trees. They're not 36-inch boxes, but they are large trees. And as you can see on the plans, they get anywhere from 20 to 80 feet when they're mature. That does take time, but that's one of the reasons we've got the probably the most effective change on the plans was the solid fence instead of a view fence on the lots north of Polaris. It's probably the most effective modification for that area. It solves a lot of privacy issues and fairly easy for us to change. That being said, I think it's important for you to understand that that exact same condition is exactly what happens in Skyview. They have lots that are very close to each other. They've got houses with view fence because there's a view on that property, and that is a condition that is above and beyond what is standard. Conforming project here, we want to be good neighbors, but at some point, conditions become punitive, unrealistic, financially unfeasible. We hope you consider that as you make your decision. Can you go to the next slide, please? Or I could do it. We both did it. This is not working here. I just want to go to page 3. Yes, thank you. You had asked a little bit about the community outreach process. We did consult with staff after our first planning commission meeting. The city provided the emails that were in the petition. On April 11th, we reached out to the neighbors who we can contact. There's about 50 different neighbors. We invited them to schedule one-on-one virtual meetings with us. On April 16th, we followed up and encouraged neighbors to schedule time. We added some new times. On the 18th, we did the same thing, added more times. We basically blocked out about 14 hours of time for meetings and made additional accommodations when they couldn't make the meeting days and times that we had suggested. We did schedule 6 separate meetings with neighbors, primarily from Boulder Crest and Ganymede, and some on Capella in Skyview. We did have 2 meetings that we scheduled, but the neighbors didn't attend. Scheduling conflict or something, I'm not sure. We never heard from them. We also returned calls, responded to emails, and generally made ourselves available to the neighbors. The conversations were actually very productive. We had the ability with the virtual meetings to show plans, zoom in, It's a little bit more difficult even in this forum to do that, but we were able to look at pad elevations, aerials, street view. We can answer questions and have a good dialogue. So we did quite a bit of that. The takeaways from those meetings, we were able to explain that this is an existing land use and it's a conforming project. Most had not seen the plans in detail. They're just not available that way. Actually, they are available, but they're not online. It's hard to zoom in and things like that. We were reviewing proposed and actual elevations, comparing the two edge conditions, again, primarily on Ganymede. We reviewed the landscape plan, the specific tree types, to provide better context of how they provide privacy. We compared the pad elevations, setbacks, building heights, and other existing conditions within Skyview to show that our project is actually very similar to that it's in Skyview and Boulder Crest. We also discussed the regulations that apply to construction activity, whether that be erosion control, fugitive dust, working hours, parking, things like that. As you know, those are all very regulated by both the city and the state. There are phone numbers to call that are posted. We do our best to make sure that we're not interfering or at least limiting the interference during construction as much as possible. There was a little bit of a misunderstanding, I think, from the owners on Boulder Crest. If you've been out there, it looks like there's a cul-de-sac there. That's actually not really a cul-de-sac. There's a terminus at the end of Boulder Crest. There was some sort of improvements done for drainage. So there's a place for trucks to turn around, curb changes, the asphalt changes. It's not a cul-de-sac, and you'll see that in a second. But I'll show you your tax map in a second. We verified all the units could be sold individually, as we talked about with Brandon. And we verified that the 63 acres of open space will be restricted in perpetuity. We're not coming back to redevelop that. That's not a phase 2 or anything like that. That'll have some sort of conservation easement. It'll be deed restricted. We're not building units on there at all. I mentioned that because under the existing zoning, we could build up to 260 units. We're not asking for that. We're asking for far less. Our density is much lower. It's 5 dwelling units per net acre. It's less than 1 unit per gross acre. We preserved the 63 acres, which is 84% of the open space. Sorry, I'm going back up here. Sorry. It only goes one direction. I'd like to go back to page 2 if you can. The HOA-owned landscape areas ensure proper maintenance. The enhanced landscaping at the entries, we didn't get a chance to talk about that at our last meeting, but we did enhance those both at the end of Boulder Crest as well as the road that pops into ours at Polaris. It provides a better and safer connection to the existing trails, which is over on lot 37. I think Brandon showed you that. We undergrounding all the ugly overhead utilities that are on the site. We do have design elements to promote privacy, as we discussed. We will make sure that there is design guidelines that we follow through the city that addresses the cohesive community character. We intend to have paired homes that have single-family characteristics, 2-car, side-by-side garages, private driveways, yards, things like that. It'll look and feel and live like a single-family house. And we have a reputation for building higher quality construction, and we take pride in the projects that we build. Can you go to page 4, please? 'Cause I tend to mess it up. Thank you. As you can see on the left, that's the end of Boulder Crest Way. That's the terminus at the end of the project. The drainage basin is on the right-hand side currently. It's got some riprap. That's the way that the original map was contemplated. As well as Polaris, as you can see on the right-hand side, the street was in before the houses were even built, obviously terminating into the property. I only mention this briefly because it's clear to me, and I think everyone, that The project was intended to be developed. This is not something that was going to be open space forever. If you can go to page 5, please. So it's turned 90 degrees. As you can see, so north is to the left, but this is the edge condition on the easterly side. We spent a lot of time reviewing this, talking with the neighbors about it. I provided another chart down below showing the lots and the elevations and the difference in the elevations. As you'll see, most of them are actually pretty close to the same. There's not much of a difference. Where there are differences, where you can see the 13 and 10 feet, the 28 feet, or lot 10, lot 8, those houses are about 250 or 120 feet, depending on how you are measuring. Those houses also are part of a curve, so each of those houses turns a little bit, so they aren't perpendicular. Windows don't look straight in, they look at an angle. So, looking through windows directly versus at an angle makes a big difference. You're going to glare, things like that. And the distance is much further than in any location I can find in the rest of Skyview or Boulder Crest. So wanted to make sure that you understand that. The sections that you're going to see here in a second on the next slide provide the distance, but it's the minimum distance from building to building. Again, these houses turn, so when you do a cross-section, it's hard to capture that angle, but we were being conservative and showed the minimum distance, not the maximum. So you can see on lot 8, we're 120 feet away. Lot 6, we're 90 feet away. The lots that are sort of up the hill on Boulder Crest, which is lot 31 and 23, they're about 70 feet away, and we do a cross-section there that the staff had asked us to do. So as you can see, we've got tall trees, we've got an HOA maintained lot, we have a 25-foot road that separates us from the other edge. It's not a good looking road. We want to buffer that as well. And we've got some, good size difference, but not too much. It's only 13 feet on lot 8 from pad elevation to pad elevation. It also helps that a lot of those homes on Ganymede, as you make that turn, are single story. If you could look at page 7, please. We just took lots nearby. These are within Skyview. Wanted to make sure we analyzed the Skyview lots on Ganymede. Skyview has very similar lot and fence conditions. You can see the section we did of lot 123 to 122. It's in the top right-hand corner, and that's actually a picture of it. So that condition with slope, higher elevations, is something that occurs right next door. So in conclusion, after 3 long years, we are here asking that you approve this well-designed, conforming subdivision with 63 acres of open space that will be deed restricted in perpetuity. I'll make myself available for any questions you may have.
Thank you, Sal. Before we move on, are you in agreement with the conditions of approval?
Yes, we're yes, with the clarification that the which system that we're using for the
right
for the security. Yeah.
I appreciate your effort. You did what we asked you to do. But let's go. But does any planning commissioners have any questions for Sal? Ivan?
Could you tell me, so how many meetings did you actually have with neighboring property owners?
We had 6 meetings.
You had 6 meetings with neighboring property owners. You reached out to 50 property owners.
Correct.
You met with 6, and 2, you had a scheduled meeting, but for whatever reason that didn't take place.
That's right. So a total of 8 were scheduled, 6 were actually had.
Okay.
And we followed up with the ones that were canceled for whatever reason. But
Okay.
Hold on, you can speak. Are you going to speak? Because we wanted to meet. Well, when you get a chance, when you come up to the dais, we'll hear it. That's okay. Any other questions? Tammy?
I haven't asked my question, so thank you.
That happens. Michael, do you have any questions? Well, like I said, I wholeheartedly see that you did what we asked you to do and then some, but let's hear what the neighbors have to say here in a second. So, Madam Clerk, are there any requests to speak, or would anyone in the audience like to comment?
I have one request to speak, Mariella Bridgewaters.
Did you want to speak? Okay. Did you put in a slip? Okay, that's all right. Do that later.
Chair, if we ask members of the audience if you'd like to make a public comment, if our director, Nick Fiddler, is passing out the comment slips, so please fill one out just for the record. Thank you.
Thank you,
Good
Ms.
evening,
Bridgewater.
members of the Planning Commission and staff. My name is Mariela Bridgewaters, and I actually live right at the corner of Boulder Crest and Richmore. My house is the corner house. And unfortunately, I couldn't be here last time, so I don't know all of the comments that have been made before, but some of the conversations that I have had with my neighbors, and I appreciate the efforts that have been made to mitigate some of the issues that we were concerned about. For me, we lived in Orange County for 25 years, and we escaped that type of situation or neighborhood because we wanted a peaceful, beautiful place to live in, and that's what we found on Boulder Crest and Richmore. It's a beautiful home, and it's quiet, and we love our neighbors. And my concern, and I appreciate that now they're condos, but having just finished a class on studies, you know, you can actually skew a study any way you want to. I would like to know, if possible, how many studies were done. Was it just one study? Because that can be anything. I can make a study look like whatever I want. So I would like to see that our independent studies done without the influence of the city or the people that are building these condos. So that would be one. Also, the traffic. Again, we have a very peaceful area. If you have 74 units with even just 2 people living in it that are adults and drivers, that it is impossible for my street to have only 34 cars come through. It is physically impossible. Even if the person goes to the supermarket, you know, they're gonna have to go through my street, and I just feel like all the money that we invested in our house, because after we moved in, we spent probably $100,000 in getting the house the way we wanted, is going to go down the drain because of these homes, because the feel of the area is not gonna be the same. Our peaceful neighborhood is gonna change. And again, you know, I understand and appreciate the efforts that have been made to mitigate all these things, but that does not change the fact that there will be 74 units with at least 2 people living in it. Now, is there a way that we can further mitigate these issues? One being, and this is—
Ma'am, I apologize, your 3 minutes is up.
Oh, may I just finish my sentence?
Chair.
5 seconds.
Okay. Is there any possibility that it can be a 55 and older area? And that's conversations I have had with neighbors, that we would be, you know, okay with that.
Thank you,
So,
Ms. Bridgewater.
thank you.
How this works is we don't answer you while you're at the podium, but we'll talk about it after you guys make your comments. Okay, next speaker, please.
Next, I have Jim Noon, followed by Greg Pasco.
Guess I'm going to have to talk fast. How many steps are left in the approval process? Is this final if it's approved at this point? Or are there more?
Yes, this is it.
This is final?
This is it, unless you appeal to city council.
So we've not seen a design or anything. There was going to be a setback, now there's not going to be a setback on the second story. To make it clearer to my neighbor, by your own calculations, there's going to be like, I think it's roughly 450 cars passing by our houses, Greg and Mary Ellen and myself, you know, per day. Who's going to be the builder? Is Sal's company the builder, or do they hire someone else?
Yeah.
Which is it?
We don't know. That
Could be either.
That
Chair?
could be a, well, I'm supposed to answer you till after.
Okay.
It's just time for you to speak.
If they're going to be the builder, or, I mean, at some point, you would think they'd have to submit something more than an outline of the lot. But maybe that's not going to happen. Like Mary Ellen said, you know, my concern is devaluation of the adjacent communities, especially if these wind up being rentals. I know they're being condos, you know, calling them condos now. So apparently there was some truth to the fact that I brought up the last time. I had heard that you were going to have to buy both sides, which I thought was crazy. Well, now they're going to be singles. But what's to stop Sal's company from building these units and then turning it all over to Trigon or someone like that, and they buy them all and they're all rentals? Is there anything to prevent that? So that's something I would like to hear answered. Because I think, you know, if these were 55 plus condos, owner occupied, you know, 90% of them or more, I wouldn't have as much of a problem with it. But if these turn out to be all rentals, I'm not going to be very happy, because I mean, that's going to further devalue, you know, the existing homes in the area. So I guess I won't do anything with my last 12 seconds.
Thank you.
Greg Pasco, followed by Christina Rose.
Hi, I'm Greg Pasco. Just going back to the traffic study again, you know, 95% is going to go out past us. I don't know how you got your traffic study at Boulder Crest and Ridgemore. I mean, I get it. Right now, you probably maybe have 34 cars, but now you're going to add 150 cars. So that's substantially going to change. You know, at the backside of the property and where the water line is now, and there's a road that goes up over to the other side over to the other city over there. I thought that was a fire access. Maybe it's not. I don't know if that's going to continue to be there in case there's fires up on those hills. So something I'd like to know whether or not that's going to be taken care of. I know there's some mitigation and stuff they're going to push back for fire prevention and whatnot, but still, if there's fires up on the hills, they're still going to need access, whether it be from one side or both sides. I'd rather have both sides so they can hit that fire from head on. You know, again, it's just traffic. It's preferably, I would rather not see the project, but I'm probably going to see that it's going to go through no matter what. You know, and our community has 5 different elevations, you know, and they say that each different style of house is an elevation. Our community have 5. The other community had 5 or 6. Is that going to be the same way in this community? Is there gonna be 5 or 6 different elevations, so that way they don't look like cookie cutter all the way up the hill? So it looks like condos or duplexes or whatever. I'd like to see it look more like homes rather than, duplexes or condos. Again, I'd rather not see it at all, but it is what it's gonna probably be. So, that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Pascal.
Christina Rose, followed by Jonathan Rose.
Hi there, my name is Christina Rose. Today I did not prepare a speech because, like I said in my last speech, it was going to fall on deaf ears. And because I feel that this has already came to conclusion, I'd just like to speak a little bit on what's going on in my mind. I've lived here for the last 11 years. I did not want to go to a meeting virtually. I prefer in person, face to face. Call it old school, call it whatever you want. I just believe in manners. I came here tonight because I have lived here for 11 years. 11 years of property taxes, 11 years of paying my dues, 11 years of paying my HOA fees, which, like I said at the last meeting, our HOA fees go to the fire break that my house sits on. So I don't comprehend, and I do understand you guys don't have the opportunity to answer my questions. So I'll just leave it with this. How is it possible, how is it feasible to build on a fire break? How am I gonna feel secure with all 6 of my children if there is in fact a fire? That being said, for 11 years, I could not use an acre of my property because it was a fire break. And now all of a sudden, it's okay to build on there? Do I get my property back? I doubt it, even though I pay property tax every year, just like everybody else here does. But this is ridiculous. And to finish this, I would personally like speed bumps in front of my house. I would like stop signs to mitigate my children getting hit, because last time I checked, 72 times 2, because that's how many people are gonna be in your unit. That's 144 cars going down Ridgemore every additional day. I don't care about your traffic studies telling me that it's not gonna be an impact because you guys don't live there. I do. Now, everybody here, because they can't answer my questions, who is opposed to this? I'm opposing it. Nobody wants this. And you all are fat cats trying to eat while we all suffer. That's all this is. You guys already made your decision. You don't care. There are 6 locations you could build your stuff that I came down Newport. Y'all don't care about us. Y'all are just fat cats trying to get rich. Thank you.
Jonathan Rose, followed by Daria Lindsay.
Admired my wife's passion. Y'all pissed her off. I understand Sal says he's done work for the city before. I get that. Makes me wonder how much behested payments has he paid to the city. I understand none of you are elected, you're all appointed by the city council. Well, I keep a good pulse on what goes on in Menifee. I'm a retired Marine, so I got nothing but time. You guys are pissing a lot of people off. Across the other way, you want to build warehouses behind people's friggin' properties? What the heck are you guys thinking? You're building on top of our hills? What the heck are you thinking? We have all kinds of wildlife in our backyard. Bats, got them everywhere. They're protected in California, lest we all forgot about that. Yep. What's your mitigation plan for that? I don't understand where your heads are at, but you need to tell your city council brothers and sisters who appointed you, they're pissing the wrong people off. We will vote come next term. We will get this sorted out one way or another. Every time I log on, every time I'm looking around Menifee, I see you guys wanting to build more. A cell tower over here, more warehouses over here. Why? Why do you want to turn this into a suburban sprawl? Why? We don't even we got 3 grocery stores at best. At best. But you want to keep stuffing people in here like damn sardines. You want to talk about you did your traffic studies. Would you do it at 2 in the morning? Like, you guys need to really pull your heads out of your rears, because this is not what we moved to this city for. This is not what we put down roots and grew our family for, so that we can look like San Diego, so we can look like Vista. Every one of us drive around this town every day, and year after year after year, what have we seen? Crime, homelessness, crap out of crap. We got crappy parks, we got crappy amenities, we got crappy roads, we got subpar schools, borderline crappy schools, but you just want to keep shoving people in here. You keep shoving them in because none of you have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about it. Now, one of you guys live off of Scott Road. I just took a ride down Scott Road. I don't think that place is getting developed anytime soon. All that open ass space, but you're gonna shove them up our backyard. Like, how dare you? How dare each and every one of you sit here and break bread with this man who can't even give a straight freaking answer on anything? Did he do a bat study? I wanna see it. Did he do an impact study? I wanna see it. He wants to say that there's gonna be mitigations. You're building right on my fire break and you have to have a 100 feet radius of safety around that. All you've done is put each and every one of us in more danger should a fire break out in what the fire marshal had already said was a high fire area. We've been lucky so far. We might end now. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Daria Lindsay, followed by Mark DeLeon. I apologize. Mark DeLeon, was that for 9.1 or 9.2? 9.2? Okay. That's all we have for 9.1.
Okay, thank you, speakers. So we have any more, if we don't have any more speakers, then I'm gonna close the public hearing at 6:47. Does the Planning Commission have any other comments or discussion? Ivan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to address some of the comments that I've heard. I'm going to ask staff questions about some of those comments. So the first speaker asked about studies. The only one that we've really talked about at all is a traffic analysis. Can you briefly describe the initial study process that projects like this have to go through, that this project went through, and the technical studies associated with that?
And may I add to that, please, Ivan? So when we receive our staff report that recommends approval for a project, we see all the studies, including CEQA. So if you people aren't familiar with CEQA, there's a lot there. All your habitat's there. Okay, thank you, Ivan, sorry.
So for CEQA, we have to go through biology, cultural, air quality, greenhouse gas review, traffic, and water quality review, along with geotechnical, which is soil testing, and the phase 1 environmental site analysis, which is further soil testing. All those get incorporated into the initial study mitigated negative declaration and gets released for public review. It also gets transmitted to all the appropriate state and federal agencies that want to read those and provide comments.
So when you say, so that's California Fish and Wildlife, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, I don't know that there's any water course here, so I don't know that Army Corps would have been involved, but those are the agencies that you're referring to.
That's correct.
And then I'm going to ask staff to again address the traffic analysis. I attempted to do that earlier. Evidently, I wasn't articulate enough in addressing that, so I'm going to ask you all to address it. And the distinction is clearly, as many of you have pointed out, correctly so, there will be additional trips when this development occurs, if it occurs. That it's vacant land, so if anything goes there, there'll be additional trips. The question that we have to answer is, does that additional traffic generate impacts that require additional improvements or mitigation? So that's kind of what we're looking at. So we're really talking about two different levels of analysis here, but I'm gonna, since I didn't do that very well last time, I think. I'm going to ask staff if you guys can do a better job than me.
We're actually going to refer that question to our CEQA consultant, Thomas from Chambers Group.
And you understand the distinction that I'm getting at, right?
I believe so.
Not traffic engineer speak, but the distinction between what creates or what's above the level of threshold and trips just in general that come off of that.
Right, so generally speaking, the city has a policy, and if a project is shown to not include more than, or result in more than 50 peak hour trips, AM or PM, no additional analysis is required. It's assumed to be less than significant based on that. All jurisdictions have some type of metric similar to that. Menifee's is 50 peak hour trips. So based on that, the gold standard for moving forward with the traffic study, kind of the first step is preparing a trip generation analysis, and it's based off the land use. So we look at the land use, we look at the number of units, and that spits back a number of trips that will be associated with the project. Based on that, there's a metric in the Institute of Traffic Engineers that identifies the percentage of peak hour trips. This is a standard.
Can I interrupt just for 1 second? So you're a little jargony with the peak hour trips. Can you clarify what that means? Because I think a couple of speakers said, hey, 34 trips a day, right? You're
Yes,
talking about peak
so AM,
hour,
PM,
yeah.
AM peak would be 7 to 9 AM. PM peak would be roughly 4 to 6, I believe. And so as long as those timeframes do not have more than 50 trips on the roadways associated with implementation of this project, it is considered, from a traffic perspective, less than significant. With that being said, there was also a LOS study done, which really was not required based on it screening out from that 50 peak hour trip. LOS is level of service. It identifies volume to capacity ratios and delays at intersections. There's an A to F categorization of different levels, A being the best, F being the worst. D and F are generally considered non-compliant with the general plan. And so something would have to be done to mitigate that impact. The traffic study, and again, the LOS traffic study, which the LOS traffic study showed that prior to the project and after the project, the intersections looked at would still operate at in the highest category.
Commissioner, this is your city attorney. I just wanted to provide some additional clarification for members of the public and the commission. In order to approve a tentative track map, a CEQA study, the California Environmental Quality Act study, is done. So in this case, an initial study and mitigated negative declaration. Our engineer is clarifying that under the law, there is a threshold under vehicle miles traveled. That is the rule that we use and analyze traffic, right, under CEQA. The impacts of the traffic of this development does not meet that threshold to qualify as a significant impact, which is a term of art under the law. Similarly, Menifee's development code has a requirement that we do something called LOS, or level of service study. That is an addition that the city of Menifee requires to provide additional information to the commission and to the public. And level service also has a threshold that's ranked A, B, C, D, or F, right? And in this case, there is going to be some additional traffic because there is development, but the question is, does the additional traffic cause the intersections or the traffic impacts to fail at D or F levels? In this case, it did not. It passed, so therefore it meets the general plan requirement. So clarification for the public that there are some impacts of additional cars, but that those impacts do not meet the level required for significance under CEQA or otherwise fail to meet the requirements of the general plan. I wanted to make that distinction clear as to the law and what you're looking at relating to traffic for purposes of approval or denial of the tentative track map. Thank you.
Please, Miss Bridgewater. Please. No, I'd have to open the hearing again, public hearing. So if you have we might do that, we'll see.
Sure.
We'll see what happens.
I have a question for the CEQA.
Can I, oh, okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Just so everybody completely understands this. Right now, we got 36 AM peak hours traveled. That is not how many people are going to be coming in and out of there in a 24-hour period.
Correct.
That is just specifically for 7 to 9, whatever hours you determine.
Correct.
So even that case, there's going to be hundreds. And Nick just walked out the door. I don't know if you're familiar. Each dwelling unit has a certain amount of comings and goings throughout the day. I think it's 8, 10, 12. So we could assume it could be quite a few hundred, but that's spread out over 24-hour period.
Correct.
So the 36 is just when people are going to go to work, go to school, et cetera.
Yeah,
correct?
roughly a 2-hour stretch in the morning and then a 2-hour stretch in the evening
Thank
is
you.
the 45.
So, let me ask you, Thomas, so what level of satisfaction can you give them for safety? Excuse
So
me?
safety is not a consideration under CEQA as it relates to traffic. I think one of the first things to note is that the traffic engineer prepares a scoping agreement with the city and ensures that the designs of the roads are up to standard with the city requirements.
So
But
there's- so
outside
there's
of that, through CEQA, there is no nexus for requiring a speed bump or there could be if the traffic study determined there would be a need for a stop sign, but
Right.
certainly not a speed bump. And the traffic study did not indicate that a stop sign was
So
required.
there is a
anywhere.
responsibility to the pedestrian too, so other cars, okay. Ivan, you still going?
Just a couple more items. Is the, Director Hernandez, is the fire marshal here? Or fire prevention officer?
No, we don't have a fire department here, no.
Okay. There were a couple of questions about the wildland-urban interface area, and this development, if approved, would actually push the wildland-urban interface area out to the backside of the proposed development, which is different than where it exists now, even though all of this would be, I haven't seen the LRA maps, but I would assume all of this is in a very high fire hazard area.
That is correct. The entire area, it's within a very high fire zone.
Please, audience, please refrain from, Miss, please be quiet.
As part of the review process, there were very specific fire studies that were required by the fire department that basically identify certain mitigations that the applicant is required to do. In terms of construction, for instance, they have to comply with what's called 7A construction, which is very specific construction material for, just to give the residents an example. In most cases, most houses have eaves, exposed eaves. In this case, they cannot have exposed eaves. And that's to reduce, again, that type of material to be exposed, right? If there's fencing, it cannot be wood fencing, it has to be, other type of material. Landscaping, it's restricted to certain type of landscaping. Shrubs, it's restricted as well. And there's an area that's called a defensible space area, right? It's typically a 100-foot buffer that it's required between the home, or 100-foot buffer between the home and basically this imaginary line, right? So, and there's certain specific things that are required. So all of that is included in this report. Obviously, I'm not an expert on this. I just kind of know the basics, and it obviously goes through a specific review process with the fire department, and that has to be vetted through them, and it's approved by the fire department.
And I do recall from the last hearing that the fire marshal did address 7A. Unfortunately, it's a little jargony to say Section 7A. That really deals with many of the issues that you have addressed, specifically with hardening the structure. So that's triple glazing windows, boxing eaves, no gable end vents, no roof vents except for flush mount style.
Specific
So
roofing
those are all things
materials
I had hoped that maybe the fire marshal would be here to explain that a little bit more, but we'll just go with that. So I appreciate your,
And don't forget, each house has
Explanation.
fire sprinklers also.
that's good for right now.
Good.
I have a question,
Tammy.
but it's for Sal. Hi, Sal. Sorry, yes,
I have
please.
questions for Sal too, so you can stay up there when she's done.
So one of the speakers mentioned a 55 and older. Was that brought up in your meetings with residents?
That's the first time we've heard of that.
Okay.
We don't develop 55 and older projects. That's just not something we do. So
Okay.
it's a very niche market.
Got it. Thank you. And in terms of residents requesting in person, was that made? Were you aware of that, or
Yeah,
was that a request made directly to you?
Yes, it was. We discussed the process of satisfying the request from the commission. We talked about it with staff, how that would be most equitable for everybody. And so we decided that virtual meetings at different times of the day, on different days, like I said, 14 hours worth of our time blocked out, holding meetings where we could, was offered up. And I'm glad that the people who chose to do that did so. I think they found it productive. There were a few people who asked for us to do in-person meetings, but then ultimately did the virtual meeting, and the results were the same. We live in a post-COVID time. Virtual meetings are pretty effective, sometimes more effective. You guys may or not lived through all that as commissioners, but we felt the virtual meetings were very effective and appropriate for this condition.
Thank you, Sal. We can't, okay, thank you. Thank you. Michael?
Yeah, Sal, the couple that just left, they indicated fire breaks. I'm looking at Google Maps right now, and it appears to be 14 properties that currently have fire breaks. You're going to be building up against all of them, with the exception of three units on Boulder Crest Road.
I'm sorry, I'd have to look at the plan. I'm not following. But
Assume I'm correct. Wouldn't building a home satisfy a fire break next to an existing home?
I'm not a fire expert, but we don't have fire buffers in the middle of a subdivision. They're on the edges.
Yeah.
And so as you develop it out, you have a new edge and a new fire buffer. I think that's what you're
And because these homes are on hills and there's all kinds of elevations, these aren't going to be like monopoly homes, all of the same elevation. They will be different elevations throughout the project.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. That was something I wrote down as well. What you're talking about is the architectural style of each of the houses. It's not intended to be monolithic. Yeah, they're not going to be the same. It's going to be the same way you would develop a single-family community. Now, we have paired homes, right? So you're not going to have a craftsman style attached to a mission style and attach that home, but each one of the paired homes will have its own architectural style. I don't know if it's 4 or 5 different kinds. There's also different colors. It's not just the style, but the way the colors are. But the idea is to make it look, not like an apartment community.
Thank you.
Is it Michael? I'd like to address the questions that the gentleman had about the, he mentioned who the contractor is. Well, we know you could be the contractor, but you're not going to build it. So could you kind of tell us about the construction? Who's going to be the contractor?
So I don't know who the contractor is going to be.
Right.
I'm a licensed contractor. We build houses. We're building houses in Encinitas right now. They're beautiful houses. We work with a lot of different projects. Some we build, some we don't. And so I cannot tell you at this time. And frankly, I don't think it's part of the purview right now.
And you could possibly sell the project and not build it, right?
That's absolutely true.
But it's not going to lose any level of anything because it's still going to be under the city's purview. There's still going to be, you haven't submitted architecture, you haven't submitted, This is just for this legal piece of property to build on.
That's right, so the
So-
approvals, what they say, run with the land, the approvals don't stay with me, they stay with
Yeah.
the property. So if the property gets sold, it's subject to those approvals. If they wanted to change anything, they'd have to come back and do all this again, spend 3 years
Oh, we
with
got-
staff and planning commission. So yeah,
It's gonna
absolutely.
be, you're gonna have, so you get an approval of tentative map. Let's say you get it printed tonight. Then you gotta do a subdivision map. That's another year, 2 years. Then you gotta go through all your approvals. That's another 2, 3 years. So there's not gonna be any construction out there for at least 5 years, I would say.
I don't know about the timeline there, but I do agree that there are additional approvals required, right? You guys have an architectural review, so to show our product, our houses, and how they
Right,
conform with
right.
design guidelines, that's one approval. We have to do final engineering on all the utilities, wets and dries. We have to do all a new grading plan that is in conformance with the tentative map grading plan. All of the plans you're seeing are conceptual. They have to
Right.
be truly engineered, so a contractor can actually build them, not off of the drawings we have now. So there is a process for that. There's tons of regulations for it. The engineering department, the planning department have to go all sign through it. It is a massive undertaking to check all the boxes to get all your final engineering done, so you can pull a grading permit and eventually record the final track map that you're talking about. Yeah, we're not building tomorrow.
Yeah, so this project is no different than any other tract in Menifee. It's what it is people need a place to live. We're not against you guys whatsoever, but, excuse me, but what do, and it's legal for this, so if you owned this piece of property, right, yourself, and you wanted to develop on it, why wouldn't you be able to? I mean, if you've met all the criteria the city's put on you, you dotted all the Ts, crossed all the Is, spent all the money, I won't even ask you how much money you spent already. And they're trying to bend over backwards to help you guys, but you guys don't want these people here. Excuse me, ma'am, you've already spoken. So I'm just, and we aren't approving everything that just comes out of nowhere. We approve a staff, we go by the staff report, what the recommendation is. If you've ever seen a staff report, you would see all your questions have been answered. And I'm just, unfortunately, you guys like it vacant, but it's, this is, anyway, that's all I want to say. Anybody else? Yeah, Michael?
Brandon, just to bring up one other speaker's concerns. There's nothing to prevent one of these Tricon companies or BlackRock or whatever it is to come in and buy 500 units of Cimarron Ridge and rent them all out. So there's nothing preventing, because these are townhomes, there's nothing preventing, it can happen. It can happen in Audie Murphy, it can happen anywhere, correct?
That's correct.
Okay,
And
so-
the city attorney can correct me if I'm wrong, but the city's not allowed to dictate whether homes could be rented or sold.
Thank you.
Yeah, like Mr. Rose said, we don't get it. Yeah, we do. We live here too. So we do care. Yeah, Ivan?
Orlando, there've been some questions about architecture. I know the applicant addressed just a little bit about that the architecture on the individual homes would differ. Can you just describe the process for architectural approval? Because this evening, this is a tentative track map and environmental document. So we obviously don't have architecture in front of us. Can you describe that?
That's correct. The city does not require that the design review for the homes be part of the tentative map process, right? So there is a different entitlement application that's required. We do have approved design guidelines specific to residential that specifically require certain items from any development. Typically for a project of this size, it will require a minimum of at least 3 different type elevations or floor plans. that would have multiple elevations as well. So you're looking at least at a minimum of 9 different type of elevations for this type of development. As the project, becomes larger, obviously the bigger the requirement is. So that is a process that has to go through the planning department, and it's an administrative process that does not require planning commission approval.
Good. Michael? I think so.
Do you want me to jump in?
I'm just wondering. So do we get all the questions, you think, from the audience? You guys? Should we open the public hearing again? Commission? Okay. I'm going to open the public hearing at 7:10. Now you can come up to the podium to speak. How are we going to figure out who's coming? Would you just walk up to whoever wants to speak, walk to the podium and state your name, please.
Brian Young, and I just would like to ask a couple of questions, just based on what you just mentioned. Are you saying that it's typical for the process to start construction would be up to 5 years? And that's pretty typical? Okay. And yeah, I think that was the main thing. If at some point, when it gets close to that point, if we could maybe see final construction posted some way, that would be nice as well. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad you're back. I think I didn't answer some of your questions.
You've answered some of them,
Okay.
and, obviously, we're not gonna be able to stop this project. I can already kind of see that in the, cooked into the cake right there. I get it. They're
Yeah,
here
we
to make
can't
money.
either.
They bought the property. I get it. I'm in construction. That's what I do. I'm a grader, so.
Oh, wow.
So, I know the process. I know what goes on. I know about AQMD. I know about SWEPs. I know about all that stuff, so I've been dealing with it. But is there any way to guarantee us that they can't sell it to like a Tricon? To keep it from going straight to rentals, all rentals? You already have one of those projects over here, and there's what, 300 homes? You know what I mean? So if there's any way that we can do this and get some type of insurance that this doesn't get just turned into just a rental period.
You just need to keep in touch with Sal.
What's that?
You just need to keep in touch with Sal.
Yeah. Yeah, Sal, come on now. Just no Tricon. I mean, I get you guys are going to put the project together. You're going to get all the approvals. You're going to do everything you need to do. I'm glad to hear that we're going to have more than one elevation, and we're going to make them look like homes, and we're not going to look like condos or duplexes, even though they are. I want to see a home split. Okay, I get that, Personally, I'd rather not see it happen at all because, yes, we do like our being able to, we want to be able to see. We walk out there right now and we get to see wildlife. We get to see the mountains and everything.
Yeah.
When we walk out there and they get done building, all we're going to see is houses.
I know.
It is what it is. It's progress, right?
Yep.
And I don't like it, but, we're not going to stop you guys and we're not going to stop them. Everybody's got too much money. If I had had my way, I'd have bought the place and just left it alone. But I don't have that kind of money.
You're right.
So, again, traffic study, I think it's crap. Because I don't know where you guys came up with the times between, what do you call it, 7 and 9? Well, no, they called 7 and 9. That's when they did their traffic study, right? 7 to 9? So, sorry, this guy gets up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning to go to work every day.
Yeah.
So that traffic study doesn't mean shit to me because everybody that lives out here doesn't work out here. Most of us work in LA, Orange County, somewhere. We're not leaving at 7 a.m. or we're late for work. We're supposed to be at work at 7. So that traffic study doesn't mean nothing to me. And it's not going to mean anything to the people that are living in that area. They're all going to be leaving before that time. And that's 150 cars at a minimum.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they could have more than one car. Neighbors, some of our neighbors have 7 cars. They have 3 or 4 families living in the same house. 7 cars live across the street. That could happen up there. So to tell me that there's only going to, that it's gonna be under your threshold, and I'm sorry that you guys all explained your threshold of how many cars are gonna go by. Doesn't work for me. Because you better be doing that study from like 5 in the morning until 8 in the morning. What about all the people that are
Sir, I
going to school?
apologize, your time is up.
You know, so, just so you know,
Thank you.
it's, you know, we go to work a lot earlier.
I feel you. Okay.
Thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak again.
Bridgewater, welcome back. I know you have a lot to say.
I'm sorry.
Don't be sorry.
I
Keep
am
going.
very passionate about this because, and unfortunately, I do work in Orange County, and I get up at 4:30 in the morning. I'm not here at 7. And I don't understand the study of the traffic because 36 cars, those homes are not there yet. So how do you know that only 36 cars are going to go through that? It's super disrupting our life completely. Our neighborhood, there are 7 cars across the street because they're renters. They cannot afford, one single family, certain families cannot afford to live in a home the level of our homes because they're over $700,000. We're not rich, but we love our homes. And this project would decrease the amount of money that we could get for our home if we were to sell it. And we spend a lot of money on that home because it's our investment. And this project will basically erase our investment. And I just would like to ask you to just be empathetic. Put yourselves in our shoes and think about what would you do if this was 4 houses away from you, because that's what it is for me. And, I understand that we need progress, but can we put homes there? Because people that will go there are a different level of people, not to diminish anything that people that are poor do and their contribution. But in our neighborhood, I would say 98% of us are owners. And so it would really disrupt our lifestyle. And then the community that we have within Boulder Ridge, or excuse me, Boulder Crest. I just want to see if we have no choice, instead of having condos, duplexes, they're still the same thing no matter what you call it. I would like to see single-family homes because the people that will come and buy those homes will be able to afford that. So I'm not opposed to progress, I understand, but you are going to disrupt the look and the feel of our neighborhood. It's not going to be the same. And renters, I'm actually concerned about my safety and my stuff. Are they going to come and steal from us? Because we do have nice things. Okay, I do. You know where I live now, so.
Hope no one's watching this.
But anyway, again, I just ask you for your empathy and understanding where we are coming from, and what we would like to see. Just regular homes will be fine. We will be fine with that, or a gated community, or a 55 and older, something that will mitigate some of the things that we are concerned about as neighbors. I would also like to know, by the way, who are
Ma'am,
the
I
50
apologize. Your
the
time
50
is up.
people that they talk to, because they didn't talk to me and I live right there. Thank you for your
Okay,
time.
thank you, Ms. Bridgewater.
I'm looking at your backyard right now. It's beautiful, by the way.
My name is Jim Noon. I spoke at
Welcome back, Jim.
I spoke at the previous meeting.
Yep.
But I also was not contacted, did not get an email. So anyway, just to follow up on what the last lady talked about, I mentioned this at the previous meeting, that we've got all these impact studies, environmental, wildlife, air quality, everything else, but there's no impact study of the valuation of our homes. If this turns out to be rentals, basically duplexes, that's gonna that's going to hurt us in the pocketbook. And so, yes, I have the, share the same concerns. I'm going from memory, but there was roughly 500, according to the traffic study, there's going to be, I think, about 550 trips per day. But 85% of it is going to be coming down Boulder Crest. And I'm 2 houses from the basin, the water basin. So I'm going to have to be extra careful backing out of my driveway or out of the garage, if this actually comes to pass. Don't want to see people flying down Boulder Crest. They've had a good run already, so they could easily be going 35, 40 miles an hour, on right now, which is our sleepy little cul-de-sac. So anyway, I hope there's so many unanswered questions. Is Sal and his associates, are they going to, hire the builders? Or are they going to sell off the package to someone else? And there's nothing to stop a potential buyer from making it all rentals. So I hope that does not come to pass. We mentioned Tricon. I guess they're a Canadian company, if I understand. It's been a while since I looked it up. But they own, I think, 31,000 homes in the United States. And every one is a rental. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Any other speakers? Okay, then I will close the public hearing at 7:21. Commissioners, what say you?
I have one more question for Alberto.
Okay.
The water retention basins, left and right at the southern end of the project. Is the continuation of Boulder Crest going to be straight? Or is there going to be a dip, a recessed dip to divert water coming down Boulder Crest, the new Boulder Crest, diverting it to either water basin?
Okay, all the water that was coming before the project is going to pass through and it's going to be catched into the storm drain. And the ones that is going to be derivate from this project is going to go into the basins.
But at the base of the project, at the southern end of it, can a little drainage be installed to connect both of those water drainages to also act as a speed deterrent coming down the hill?
That could be done, work is going to be done in final engineering on this. Right now, they are separate basins. They collect water from different locations. And that's what is preliminary designed. Can be designed differently on final engineering. That's something that can be discussed later on.
Thank you.
Ivan.
So after watching the video and listening to testimony tonight, it sounds to me like I think the largest or the greatest angst from the from folks adjacent to this proposed project really was you didn't think anything was going to ever be built on those hills. That's kind of what I hear, and this came as a bit of a surprise potentially because the western portion of this is very steep slopes. Right. And in this case, unlike if it were conserved land, that is, it had a conservation easement over it, or was owned by a resource conservation agency, those areas couldn't be developed. And that's not the case here. Although as a part of this, the westerly 63 acres will be permanently conserved if this is ultimately approved. And I think that's been the big challenge that I've heard. There's a number of things that I think staff has attempted to respond to. Traffic, even though there's still not a great understanding of a traffic analysis and how those impacts are, we've attempted to respond to that. Future architecture, the studies that are required as a part of the initial study process. And I think what our limitations are is we're looking at the governing documents for the city of Menifee, that is the general plan, the development code, and how this proposed project meets or doesn't meet those. And then we're asked to make certain findings. This is difficult to do this, to sit here and especially in a case like this where there's so many concerns that you all have. I think there has been some positive things that have occurred since the last meeting. I'm pleased to see that. The solid fences or walls on the top of the pads, at the back of the pad, at the top of slope, for those lots that would face the existing homes. I think that's positive in terms of granting a little bit more privacy to folks that live there already. So I'm pleased to see that. There's an increase in some of the sizes of the trees. The trees are going to take a while, but I think the fence is probably the primary thing. So that I look at the project and look at the findings and try to make a determination based on what I've read and the comments that are here tonight. Can we make the findings? And I think at this point in time, I can make the findings. But I want you to know we did hear your concerns and the attempts to mitigate those concerns. None of this stuff is easy, and these are difficult decisions. So, and I appreciate all of you turning out. It's actually helpful to hear this as we go through the project.
Thank you, Ivan. Tammy?
That was well said, Commissioner Holler. This is very difficult for all of us, especially when we weigh the findings, how they coincide with the general plan, and they do coincide, they're consistent. So that helps us to make a decision based on that. So, and I am pleased that the developer met with the community, and I know it wasn't to everyone's standard. And I wish that, I know that it was based on the emails that were collected the night of the meeting, but I do think that effort was placed there. And based on the feedback from the last meeting, there was improvements made. So those are my comments.
Thank you, Tammy. After listening to you all and your passion and how much you love where you live, you have a lot of unknowns that are kind of haunting, like thieves. I don't know. Well, we all have that. We never know if someone's going to come rob our house. You've got renters. This is going to be an expensive project. I don't think you're going to get someone up there who can't afford a house. I really don't. And this is actually, whenever there's a new project, the infrastructure that comes with that new project actually increases the value of the adjacent homes. So, I mean, I'm not talking from the heart like you guys are feeling, okay? But it might be a good change. You might like your neighbors, you know? You might, I mean, the only thing I would, maybe if possible, after hearing Ms. Rose, Sal, do speed bumps fit in there at all? I don't even know if traffic approves. Yeah, sure.
I intended, thank you for reminding me, I intended to ask, When you get to final engineering, Alberto, can you guys study whether you can incorporate traffic calming measures at the entrances to this proposed project?
Yes.
And include that, whether those are speed tables, speed humps, excuse me, it probably won't be a speed bump because of fires concerns, but I would ask you to do that if you can.
Yes.
Thank you, Ivan. So when I see this, this looks so good, really. I'm not contradicting you guys, but you've got 37 lots with duplexes, 74 units on a 76.6 acre parcel, and that's actually 84% not being built. That's pretty, I know, Jim, you don't like that, but that's what you, if you don't live there, okay? So anyway, like Tammy and Ivan and Michael said, it met all the criteria, the zoning, Sal's tried, and maybe you can still talk to him, and but I think it's a good project. We don't, if you guys knew, no, it's okay, but if you knew what, so for example, this one person sent a letter to email, and she said, don't zone it. It's already zoned. So all these things like the theater, we don't own that land. The Smart and Final, we don't own that land, the vacant. We have no control over if a developer vacates a piece of property, go bankrupt. But anyway, we're getting off track. So so there's 2 resolutions for adoption. Can I get a motion and a second to adopt the resolutions as presented by staff? Okay. Okay, so it passes. And I hope it works out for y'all. Okay, so that takes, let's go over to item 9.2. Could the acting community development director please introduce the item? Yeah, we're gonna take a 10-minute break. 10 minutes. 5 minutes? Okay, 5-minute break. See you guys back at 7:37. We are going to re-adjourn this meeting at 7:42. Okay. This is 9.2. Could the acting community development director please introduce this item?
Thank you, Chair. Since Brenda did such a good job on the last item, we figured we would bring him again, so he'll be
Yeah.
presenting the item again.
Go, Brandon.
Hello, Chair and Commissioners. The project before you is Track Map 38525 Menifee Coastline. It is located at the northwest corner of Coastline Avenue and Menifee Road. The general plan designation for the property is rural mountainous and 2.1 to 5 dwelling units per acre residential. It's split approximately 50-50. The zoning is also rural mountainous and LDR-2. The project proposes 45 single-family detached lots with 2 water quality basins and 2 points of access on Menifee Road. Additionally, the project will be preserving trail access and preserving 24.2 acres of natural open space, which is approximately 60%. And here is a picture of the site plan. North is to the right. Between lots 11 and 12, with the green dot will be the trail access, and then the blue dots are the site access for primary and secondary access. D Street, which is the one on the right, is restricted to right in and right out. The project is proposing to utilize the cluster development standards, which is meant to provide flexibility on project sites with topographical and biological challenges. In this project site, it's mainly topographical. The requirement is, in order to utilize this portion of our development code, they need to preserve a minimum of 25% as natural open space. In this case, the project is proposing 61% preserved as natural open space, or 24.2 acres. For that, in exchange for a reduction from the minimum required 7,200 square foot minimum lot size for the LDR2 zone down to 5,000 square feet. That is the only development standard that's being reduced. All the other development standards will be retained per the LDR2 zoning standards. The project is also for the net developed area at 3.2 dwelling units per acre within the general plan range of 2.1 to 5 dwelling units per acre. The project is also proposing 5.2 acres approximately of landscaped, and that includes the high fire fuel modification plans as well. For public noticing, the project was noticed on March 16th for today's Planning Commission hearing, and it was noticed in the press enterprise, on-site, and mailed to all properties within a 300-foot radius of the project site. We did receive one email before the staff report was posted, so you guys should have those, from a resident, mainly regarding traffic concerns and the proximity of the Menifee Flyers Club, which is on the property to the south. In addition, we got an agency letter from the Santa Ana Regional Water Quality Board. In addition, a letter came in earlier today, which is now located in your blue folder. For the environmental determination, an initial study mitigated negative declaration was prepared and determined the project will have a less than significant effect on the environment with mitigation incorporated. The public comment period was March 16th to April 16th. Staff's recommendation is to adopt a resolution adopting the initial study mitigated negative declaration for this track map and adopt a resolution approving tentative track map number 38525 located at the northwest corner of Coastline Avenue and Menifee Road. This concludes staff's presentation. The applicant is here to answer any questions you have along with our CEQA consultant.
Thank you, Brandon. Commissioners, any questions for staff? Amy.
Hi. I just want to make sure that to address the question in the letter, that there's no rezoning, correct? It's a split zone, mountainous and LD2.
That's correct.
Michael?
Yeah, thank you. IT, can I get slide 7, please? Oh, I'm sorry, 6. Go back to 6. That dashed line indicating the fire break area there to the west. Is any of that in the RM zoning?
There will be no
that
development.
dashed line up at the top.
Yeah, so that is the area where they have to keep the natural vegetation down low for the fuel modification area. None of it is in the rural mountainous designation.
Thank you.
So something like a fire easement, but not really. Okay. I don't have any questions. Anyone else? Tammy?
One more question. The trails, they'll be open to the public?
I believe the trails will be open to the public, but the applicant can clarify further.
Thank you.
Okay, if there aren't any further questions, I'll open the public hearing at 7:49. Madam Clerk, can you confirm that the item was legally noticed and if any correspondence has been received?
It was legally noticed. There was no additional correspondence received that wasn't previously mentioned.
Thank you. I would like to, at this time, ask the applicant to come to the podium.
Good evening, Chair Madrid, Planning Commissioners, staff, and the public. Cass and Klein with Cass and Klein Consulting on behalf of the applicant. To answer Commissioner Ramirez's question, the trails will be open to the public. We are not going to restrict access to the public. I know that the email from the one gentleman, that was one of the questions that he raised concern about. So we're not proposing and won't be restricting access to those trails. I don't know whether or not whether that letter that was received today was emailed to us. I did not see it, so if staff could just be certain to close the loop on that, so that's not hanging out there on whatever those comments or potential objections may have been. And we concur and agree with all the conditions of approval. I'm here to answer any questions and would be happy to address any comments that are made by the public.
Great. Thanks, Cass. Any questions, commissioners, for the applicant? No. Tammy? No? Michael?
I'll talk to Cass.
Okay.
I don't have very many, but the area between lot 15 and 16. Oh, what is that?
Can you put the slide up, please?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm looking at it. It's that green area there.
That right there is, I believe it's just landscape. It's somewhat depressed. You can tell by the topography, but it's landscape area.
Residents will be able to just wander, or
I don't believe that there's going to be access to it.
it'll be fenced in like a retention
Well, I
basin,
don't know that it's going to be fenced.
but they won't have access to it.
Peter Carlson is the biologist on the project, so I'll let him address that.
Thanks.
Sure. Commissioners, that's one of the basins that's collecting some of the water coming out of the hillside first. So it'll be a depressed vegetated basin.
Okay. Cass, how much soil is going to be removed or brought in for the, I know you don't know an exact figure.
I don't know. That would have
is it
been
gonna be
covered in the MND. Maybe Alberto could answer that, your engineering department, with the cut and fill and the preliminary proposed grading plan.
Commissioner Michael, this will be decided in fine engineering. For now, we don't have any information.
Well, take a guess. How many yards? You think it's balanced? Do you think it's?
I'll let Peter answer that
Okay.
question.
All right, Commissioners, we actually have some export. When we started the project, we had planned about 55 units, 55 lots, and had a substantial amount of export in the neighborhood of 80,000 yards. We reduced the number of lots, we reduced the amount of cut area, and reduced the amount of export to in the neighborhood of 30,000 yards.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And one more point about reducing the lots, because clustering was brought up, and you know, we could have gone to the 5,000 square foot minimums, but at the request of Orlando, the lots that back up to Menifee Road were increased to a minimum of 6,000 square feet. So, you know, we've made every effort working with staff collaboratively, by the way, and not just planning, but engineering on the design of Menifee Road and fire. That's how we arrived at the reduction to the 45 units.
And finally, if approved this evening, when do you anticipate the start of construction and for how long?
Come speak, Joseph. Yeah, I'll let the applicant, or have the applicant answer that question.
Commissioner, as you know, we have to do, if you approve us tonight, we have to do the final engineering, just any other project. And then the actual construction would be probably about a year and a half from now. Another issue that we have, one of the conditions is that we have to get 3 permits from 3 different agencies, 1603, 404, and 401. And all of those will take more time. Even if we get approved tonight, the other permits that we have to get. So I really don't know, but depending on the agencies, but it could be 2 years from now or something.
So and construction duration?
I'm sorry?
How long start to finish for your construction?
I do not know that. I think Peter
Okay.
should answer that. I don't know.
All right, thank you.
So you're saying, Joseph, you would start immediately if you had a permit?
I'm sorry? Oh, it depends on the market condition, as you know, Mr. Madrid. We have to see, but assuming that the market is good, we will do it immediately. We will not spend, we will go forward with it. I'm market driven, but
right.
So I'm not able to tell you exactly, but that's basically.
Oh, you answered my question.
Yes.
Thank you, Joseph.
Thank you all.
Any other questions, commissioners? No?
Thank you.
You're off the hook, Cass. Thanks, Casson. Okay, there's no further questions. I'll close this public hearing at 7:55 p.m. Commissioners, any questions, discussion?
Chair, we do have some public speakers.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't look at my, okay. Do you have any speakers?
So I have Mark D. Leon, followed by Floralee D. Leon.
Excuse me, I'll reopen the public hearing at 7:55.
Mark D. Leon, followed by Floralee D. Leon. Okay, I have Daria Lindsay. I think Mark and Floralee must have left because I don't see them anywhere. Okay. Daria Lindsay?
Thank you for this opportunity to speak. So I live in Heritage Lake, right on the other side of Menifee Road. And I noticed that there was something about neighbors contacted within a 300 feet radius, and I don't know if, I haven't received any notification. I called Heritage Lake, but they've been pretty much, useless in providing any information. I'm right off of Coastline, and I already have frustration with Coastline of the number of cars that speed up and down that corridor from Heritage Lake up to Menifee Road. And I don't know if there's been any impact of this new development, perhaps using Coastline as a shortcut to get to other areas and just adding to that, the increase of cars that run up and down. And I'm right off of it, so I see it every day, the speeding. And these are neighborhoods where, people walk their dogs, ride their bikes, and also the thought of, which is relatively a small housing tract, on 39 acres, you know, of all the other space, you know, to build on that's available. And I can't imagine that there's going to be many amenities or the walkability also of this neighborhood. And the Heritage Lake trails and amenities are reserved for, you know, Heritage Lake Association residents who pay for, you know, to live there and pay into the HOA. So, you know, that's just a concern of mine, of the additional, you know, foot traffic on our trails. And I guess it's up to Heritage Lake to, you know, try to monitor that as much as possible. And also, it's not clear who is the actual, you know, developer, and these are single-family homes, so this will remain single-family homes. There's no, you know, change to the same concerns of some of the previous, you know, Ridgecrest with condos or duplexes, and I know there's no control over whether they might turn into rentals or not. And then again, minimizing some of the construction issues of dust and noise, because again, there's homes right across Menifee Road, with just a, you know, a retaining wall, which, you know, doesn't do much when there's, you know, the winds pick up through that area and over those hills quite strongly within the evenings or, you know, at any time throughout the day. So I just want to, you know, make sure that some of those issues are addressed and, you know, just given some consideration. And also, again, I would like to be one of the neighbors that's kept in contact with them regarding this project. And if there's any opportunity to meet with the neighbors, then I would certainly take advantage of that.
Excellent, thank you.
Chair, I have no other speakers.
Oh, no other speakers. Okay, so now I will close the public hearing at 7:59. Does the Planning Commission have any comments, discussion? Ivan?
Go first. Thank you. And I just want to be responsive to the questions and comments that we just heard. So can you tell me about the noticing?
So per our development code, we are required to notify by mail all properties within a 300-foot radius of the project site and at least a minimum of 25 different property owners. In addition, a notice is posted in the press enterprise, along with being posted on our website.
And you have a list of the properties that were within that 300-foot radius, correct?
That's correct. We also did post on site. Some third party did take it down, but once we found out, we did get the sign posted back up.
Okay. And the speaker had asked to be notified in the future specifically. Can you add her to a list of notices as you go forward with other approvals on the project?
Yes, I'll talk with her after and get her contact info.
And then I have a question on the traffic splits. I shouldn't say that way. I have a question on how many trips might end up on Coastline. Is there someone here that could answer the question on that?
We have our CEQA consultant, Ryan from Rincon, here to answer that question.
So for you, I'll say, can you talk about the splits, but can you not be jargony like I just was?
That's correct. I can't speak on the splits. All I can mention is that similar to the previous project, VMT was scoped out as well as LOS. So there was no formal traffic study prepared. And I believe it was, let's see, we've got 42 total PM peak hours trips and 32 total AM peak hour trips. Those are the splits between AM and PM.
Okay, and do you know if those are divided equally from the southerly and northerly entrances?
No, unfortunately, no. I cannot say. I can say in and outs, but I can't say exactly where.
All right, fair enough. Yeah. And then on the amenities, I know there's discussion in the agenda report about Quimby contribution and the open space set aside. Can you elaborate on that?
Yes, so our subdivision map app requires that projects with over 50 lots provide amenities. In this case, the project's only 45 units or 45 lots. The amenities they are providing is just maintaining the access to the trail system and keeping approximately 60% of the project site preserved as natural open space.
But the contribution, the Quimby, if you can say how that works.
Yes, so prior to construction of the units, the applicant will work with our community services department. There's a formula that goes into the contribution for Parks and Rec fees on a per unit basis. It's based on the size of the home, the average population of that house, and the valuation of the project property.
And what that does is that provides a contribution to additional amenities at parklands, hopefully in this general vicinity.
That's correct.
If I can elaborate, Commissioner Holler, basically the way Quimby fee works is that obviously there's a formula that's very specific to the project. This project will eventually contribute park fees that the city will basically set aside. And once we have enough fees, then we look for areas where the city feels there's a need for park opportunities, right? So usually that happens throughout the city as the needs arise.
Thank you. And then I have a note for single-family dwellings, and I kind of forgot what I wanted to ask about that. But just to confirm, this is single-family detached homes?
That's correct.
Okay, and the last comment, Alberto, is probably for you. During construction, can you describe the mitigation measures for fugitive dust capture and noise, like operating hours, restrictions for heavy equipment, things like that, in plain English?
Yes, I can try to respond that to you. The operation hour is going to be from 7 to 7, Monday through Friday, if I'm not mistaken here. Is only our package. And there will be inspectors that will be inspecting the site. And there will be also consultant that will be checking for all the quality control, water and air, dust, and that also be all under control by our consultant. So.
And is there I think there might be, but you can correct me if I'm wrong. Is there a signboard up on the site that says, hey, if you see dust, call this number? Something like that? Do you do that?
We don't.
That I don't know if I have. Do you have any?
AQMD does.
Yeah, if I can interject.
Okay. But there is a sign and there's a number someone can call to ask about that.
That is correct. There's a very specific conditions of approval, especially condition number 30, that requires a fugitive dust control, and it's tied with AQMD, and there's very specific requirements as to what they're obligated to do, and one of them is, putting up a sign, a phone number, and also other things, how many times they have to water the site, and all the different things that they're required. It's listed under conditions of approval.
If I just may, one of the things about fugitive dust controlling is that there's a minimum moisture percentage. This is getting pretty technical, but to also help control fugitive dust, there is a minimum moisture percentage which is why you see water trucks out during grading to keep that fugitive dust down. So I would venture to say, knowing the raw land that it's there now, I would venture a guess that there's going to be less dust during the grading than what occurs out there today. But as staff and Commissioner Holler mentioned, there are very stringent air quality and dust control measures.
I like that moisture part. Commissioner Michael.
My first question is for anybody in this room that can answer. Is this project MUSD or RUSD as far as school districts?
It'll be Romaland School District and Paris School District.
Okay, that answers my question. Second of all, in Heritage Lakes, there's a diagonal trail system that dead ends at Sunset Park. Is that open to all, or is it just Heritage residents? And they get carded, you got to prove? Okay, thank you.
Ivan, yes.
Sorry.
No, sorry.
Just in the comment letter that we have, one of the concerns was about, evidently there's a RC airplane flying club to the south of the site. Do you see any reason why this can't coexist, or why these two can't coexist? Is there a code I'm not aware of or something?
As far as we're aware, there's no reason they can't coexist.
Thank you.
Any other questions, commissioners? Tammy?
For that club, are drones flown there, or is it just strictly airplanes? I know that's such a random question, I know.
That we do not know, but it is a county-owned property, so whatever the county allows on their property, I guess.
Thank you, sorry.
I don't, all my questions were answered by your guys' great questions. So, okay, so I'll close. There's not going to be any, okay, so if there aren't any more questions, there are 2 resolutions for adoption. Can I get a motion and a second to adopt the resolutions as presented by staff, please?
Chair.
Yeah,
Oh,
am I allowed to speak right now?
no. We closed the public hearing a long time ago.
I'm sorry?
No, we're,
I can't speak?
well,
Chair, it's your discretion on whether to open the public hearing, and if
okay.
not, then we can
Okay.
continue on with the vote.
yeah, let's open the public hearing again, 8 o'clock, 8:10.
So you have a public hearing scheduled?
No, you
coming
can
up?
speak. I had to do that. It's a formality. You're on. You got 3 minutes.
Got 3 minutes? Okay.
Wait, I'm sorry. Can I
Okay,
please get your name for the record, please, sir?
Okay, I'm Jim Koch. I live in the Heritage Lake development area. I'm right across Menifee Road, and basically on the northwest corner of Coastline and Menifee Road there in that development. So we've lived there for 13 years now, and we really like the area. My main concern, well, a couple of things. One is about the plan itself, the proposed buildings and everything else. Can we be assured that it's going to stay as, or that's not going to turn into rental homes? Because that's going to affect the value, property value in our area. So very similar to the concerns that was expressed in the previous plan. I just want to emphasize those same concerns. One, traffic, the other one's fire access, and the drain of any water runoff. A couple of years ago, we got a notification from the homeowners insurance that they were studying potential fire area in along that hills at that time. So far, they've determined that it's not a designated fire hazard area, but I'm wondering if that's going to change with this development and how you're going to mitigate that with fire access roads and everything else, so that can be addressed if it ever comes to that issue again. The other is during construction. One, we have those sub-transmission lines along Menifee Road that are really overhead. What's going to be done to those lines during construction? And how is that going to affect our power to the homes, okay? Because they're pretty heavy, substantial transmission lines there overhead coming from that substation there in The other thing during construction is not only the dust, and that's been addressed here, but because it's a hilly area, is there going to be any blasting or dynamite being done to level out the area? And if so, that's going to be very noisy, affecting the animals and everything else. So I'd like to have those things be addressed, and any subsequent public hearings you may have or investigation into this project. So I don't know who this thing is going to be sold to, which developer, and how that might change into possibly into rentals, which if there's any way we can prevent that from happening and keep it as permanent resident homes instead of rentals, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
If there's no other public speakers, I don't know, Brandon, if you want to address the Edison lines, it's addressed in the staff report. So why don't you go ahead?
So the power lines along Menifee Road are too large to underground, so they're going to be preserved in place. However, the project will be undergrounding the 33.6 kilovolts and under as part of the project design for the utilities going to each house.
I'll try and work backwards. As far as blasting or dynamite, we won't know that until we get into grading, and if they if that is a requirement, then certainly they would have to come back to the city for special permits to do that. And of course, one of the things that would be considered is noise. Traffic was fully vetted by the city's consultant, by the way. That's, you folks are familiar with the city's process. However, for the public, benefit of the public, the city runs all of the technical studies, air quality, noise, traffic. Those are run by consultants that the city contracts and controls, not developers. Fire access, as I mentioned earlier in my comments, we work diligently both and collaboratively both with the fire marshal and with Nick and his staff in engineering. Same way with hydrology. You know, we're restricted through the city's MS4 permit with Regional Water Quality Control Board in terms of discharging off the site. And in terms of, you know, a lot of comments about rentals and, quote, those people, you know, as you folks might know, and with the Affordable Housing Acts, commonly referred to as SB 330, more and more the state legislature is taking away local control because of cities' prohibition to high-density multifamily and rentals. So, and that's certainly something that any developer could explore and actually process applications for single-family residences and accessory dwelling units that the city has virtually no control over. So, again, this project at 45 dwelling units and over the minimum lot size is about as good as you could hope for. I hope that answers the question and sheds some light for the public on what you're looking at. But that's it. I'm available for any other questions.
Tell me, Cass, about the drainage that Jim talked about. Is that historical drainage? Is that going to be taken care of in the hydrology?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it'll make it much better.
As you know, it's a requirement. You can't increase the rate with which, or the speed with which historical flow leaves your site. You have to clean it before it leaves, including you know, fugitive dirt runoff, and you can't. So rate and ingress and egress, right? So we can't change where it enters our site, and we can't alter where it discharges from the site.
All right, cool, man, good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cass. I guess that was still public hearing, so I will close the public hearing at 8:17. Okay. Oh, yeah, so commissioners, have any questions or discussion?
I'm a little bit loath to do this, but I'm going to ask the city attorney a question. Since this topic has come up several times this evening, can you clarify with respect to rentals versus owned property?
Exactly.
Are we precluded by state law from considering that as we deliberate on a project?
So in order to approve or deny this project before you, the scope of this public hearing, you have to make findings that support or your findings, right? Whether with facts that support approval or denial. There's nothing in our code that permits you currently to make findings to prohibit rentals. And in fact, I'm not aware of any laws, state or otherwise, that specifically say that you can or cannot prohibit rentals. However, I imagine there would be due process concerns because property owners have a right to do with their property, so whatever they choose, so long as within the confines of local and state law. In this case, we do not prohibit any single-family homes from renting out their properties. Therefore, by applying that kind of restriction here, there might be concerns for this property owner.
And in the absence of a statute at the state level, case law?
I believe that there would be. I would have to look. However, again, there are due process concerns in ensuring that we treat all property owners similarly, that are similarly situated. And in this case, with residential property that's owned by a private property owner, we do not prohibit any private property owners in the city from renting out their homes. Therefore, I would not advise that the commission or any legislative body prohibit any developer from renting out their homes if we allow others to do so.
I wasn't necessarily suggesting that, Councilor.
Yes, I understand. Thank you.
Thank you, Ty. Any other questions, Commission? Michael? No, you good? Okay, there are two resolutions for adoption. Can I get a motion and a second to adopt the resolutions as presented by staff? Okay,
I'll second.
went away.
Sorry, give me a moment, please.
Take your time, we got all night. No, we don't.
Okay, let's try that again. A motion and a second, please.
Down there?
Okay, I'm sorry. Can we do a verbal vote for that? So can I hear who motioned again?
I seconded what he said.
Okay. Commissioner Knighton?
Yes.
Commissioner Ramirez?
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas is absent. Vice Chair Holler?
Yes.
And Chair Madrid?
Yay.
And that passed 4-0.
Congratulations, project passed. So. I always do that, man. I get so excited. All right. Okay. There are no discussion items tonight. Acting Community Development Director, do you have any updates or comments?
Just one item to report. I know there's been interest in the past from the commission to kind of find out the status of the Krakorian site. I know a few times, at least with the previous commission, but I just wanted to mention is that as of now, all the structures are down. And our contractor is completing the process of the removal of the foundations, and that should be done within the next week or so. And that site will be brought back to its original condition. So I wanted to report that, and I know it's something that the community
job.
has been following very closely.
Thank you, Orlando. Good job. Okay. Would the planning commission like to no, we're gonna see, does the planning commission have anything to report on committee activities? No, Ivan? Michael, you must.
Of course.
You must.
It was a short week for me. On April 12th, I attended Springfest. Great event the city puts on with Community Services Department. Later that day, I attended the first annual 55-plus Easter egg hunt over at the Center for Spiritual Living.
You're not old enough.
And even though I didn't qualify, they were very welcoming. And I even won a bag of beef jerky, so that was cool. On the 15th, I attended the Murrieta Housing Workshop. Casson was there. It was at Murrieta City Hall. They presented it, basically kind of the dual meeting we had a month and a half, 2 months ago with City Council. And also, it was similar to what we all attended in up north. A lot of the laws that are taking place, Murrieta is a lot more advanced than we are as far as development, and they're more of that all the assembly bills and the Senate bills, things like that are affecting them more. I didn't necessarily learn anything new, but it was interesting to attend just to see what a neighboring city is going through. Ivan, you probably know a lot of that just from your experience there. And that's it. That's all I got.
Good. Did you go anywhere, Tammy? You just watched it on TV, okay. It's okay. I'm sorry. Okay. Would you guys like to request any future agenda items?
I don't have a future agenda item, but I do have a request. When we have a project like those that we saw this evening that have a wildland urban interface area, I would like to ask if it's possible to have the fire marshal or a fire prevention officer here, because we really need some of that technical knowledge. We don't have to have them every time. Just where we have a wildland urban interface area, we get a few questions on that.
And traffic.
I'd like to ask that.
And traffic now, too. Well, I hate to end this fabulous evening, but I'm adjourning this meeting at 8:25.